Hi everybody, my name is Alex. I want to show you my dream game that I've been working on. This is called LocalMUD, and it is a text adventure which features some RPG elements. So if you're not familiar with what a MUD is, MUD stands for multi-user dungeon. There were these large-scale text adventures. They're still around, but large-scale text adventures that existed online, and they were essentially the precursor for the modern MMO. All of the elements, in my opinion, that make an MMO fun, the exploration, the people, the RPG elements, all that's present in a multi-user dungeon for free, and in very large quantities. So if you've never played a MUD before and you like MMOs, check them out. My feeling about MUDs has always been we need a game that's this expansive in text that's offline. Now you're probably thinking, bro, we have text adventures, Infocom. Go through the Infocom library, and go through the interactive fiction community. They've got millions of games you can, well, maybe millions, about hundreds of thousands of games you can play, and they're all there. There's a lot of amazing stuff there, and you'd be right. The big difference between the text adventure and the MUD, in my opinion, is the presence of RPG elements. Right, in most text adventures, you're finding items, you're talking to NPCs, you're trying to find the right command, you're doing some mapping, that sort of thing. Whereas when you play a MUD, you're trying to level up. You've got RPG stats. You've got items that you're equipping. That you're engaging in battles. A lot of that stuff doesn't happen in the traditional text adventure, with some exceptions. LocalMUD is my attempt to make a game that plays like a multi-user dungeon that is completely offline. So here we go. You might remember, if you know me, in 2022, I hired a developer to build an engine for LocalMUD, and it cost me $125, which, to be fair, if you're hiring a contractor, is not that much. But he gave me this beautiful engine that I could not compile because the interface required a very specific version of a very very specific version of Python. So that didn't work out. I couldn't quite make that work. Hang on a second here. A more skilled programmer probably could, but I couldn't, and the whole project went on ice for a couple of years. So this is what I've built in the past 2 weeks, and there's not a ton here, but I'm super excited about it just because the project is alive again. Right? If I can get an engine that works, I can add rooms over time, and it can continue to expand. As you can see right now, I've got a grand total of 6 rooms. Wow! It's not 1,500 like Batmud has, but I have 6. All right, so what do we have so far? So you can enter your name. Hang on a second. So as far as stats are concerned, I didn't want to have to design and balance an RPG system, so I'm using the BX Dungeons and Dragons statistics set, including classes. That's why I'm using the race as class. Everything. If you've ever played BX Dungeons and Dragons, I'm using the same thing, right? So fighter is one that you can pick, and elf is one that you can pick. However, you cannot be an elf fighter. That's the way BX handled it back in those days. So you're rolling the same 6 traditional stats as you would in BX, and they don't do a whole lot yet, but they will. So we will accept these stats, and then based on the stats, what you have the prerequisite for, it'll choose a class you can choose. Now, if you roll stats that don't qualify for any class, it will immediately re-roll them, and you'll never know it happened. So this list will never be empty. So we'll make a fighter. And then we have these are supposed to be backgrounds that have no effect. I'm hoping to build on this later. We'll say he's an orb scholar. So here's my character. I can go with it or not. The HP that you can see here, which is 7, it's straight out of BX. It's based on the hit dice that are assigned to whatever class you've picked. I plan to make an option where you can start as max HP, but I haven't yet. So we'll go with that. All right, so we have a room. A couple of things right off the bat. I have not integrated color yet, which, you know, it's an entirely text game, so there's not much of a need for color, but you can do a couple of things with it. For example, up here I have like a top bar, no color. A couple of problems. It says max is 6. It always says that for everyone. I'm still working on that, but this is accurate. So I have a few different rooms, and let's see. I built the parser from scratch, which was it was a lot. You know, it's being constantly refined. But this is the challenge. If you want to make a text adventure and you're not going to go with like something like Inform 7, this is the challenge, and this is what I've read from other people. You're going to spend most of your time working on the parser, and in the end, when your game is released, the parser is going to be the weakest part. So I have understood that from the beginning, and I've accepted it. The reason why I went this route anyway is because with Inform 7, which by the way is an amazing engine. Inform 7 I really like Inform 7, but I don't know how to integrate RPG elements in it, and I can't make it look the way I want it to look. So I built one from scratch. So there you go. MUDs also, in my experience with MUDs, I'm not a long-time seasoned MUD vet, but I played them. I went through a MUD phase back in like 2005 or so. Anyway, MUDs tend to have, they're not as refined in the parser department as, say, an Infocom game. You know what I mean? Like Infocom games, you get these, you'll chain these sentences together with 4 different words, and each one of them means something to the parser. Whereas with a MUD, it's like use item. And that's the way it is here. So if you look at the room that I'm in right now, there's a glowing orb in the room. I cannot write take orb at this time, and the reason I haven't implemented that is because that I'll only be able to have one item called the orb. It is the glowing orb. So take glowing orb. And yes, there's ways to make that work where I just have to write take orb, and that's it. Right, so now I have the orb. Right, so it's listing exits. I can go east. But it's locked. So I'll go north. And we have the Vault of the Nameless Dead with all of its spelling errors. And I've implemented, let's see, instead of playtesting, I've implemented a command system. Those are the commands that I have at this time that I'm still working on. And it's there's the message of the day. If you've ever played a MUD, because the entire game takes place, you know, in I want to say command prompt, but almost like an IRC. They always start with a message of the day. So I implemented a message of the day in a single word. A single word is etched on the wall. Why? And since it's just an offline game, it pulls the message of the day straight off of a list at random, and that reacts to holidays. So there's a list for Christmas and a list for Halloween. So this is LocalMUD. This is what I wanted in 2022 and couldn't get. There's not a lot here, but it functions, and I'm adding a little bit to it every single day. And the end result, I'm going to move this to GitHub, and it is going to be not just free, but completely open, right? I'm following the development path that Angband uses, right? So the source will be available for everybody. You can fork it, you can change it, you can contribute, you can do whatever you want to do. Because in the reality is I'm just making my little game that I would want to play, and there's free, y'all. That's free. I am making it. I will say that I'm in the code. If I can bring this up, hang on a second. Yeah, here we go. If you look at the code for what it's worth, we'll go to main. Where is it at? Come on, man. I'm going out of my way to try and make this as easy to follow as possible. I isolated like the rooms into their own file and the items into their own file and stuff. So if you wanted to, I'm trying to make this easy to edit if you decided to fork it or contribute or whatnot. So there you go. So that's LocalMUD. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Yeah, I'm gonna get it on GitHub soon so that you can mess with it. But I wanted to have something to show because I've had a couple of people ask what I'm building, and here it is. So this is it. Thanks for watching, and I'll let you know when I have something that you can actually play.